Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Are you ready to unleash your business? Work Better Now provides incredible full-time remote talent that positively impacts your business from day one. Free your time and resources from administrative tasks and from tedious hiring activities. Whether you need an executive assistant, need to staff up a department, or you're a high-performance sales professional that simply needs more time, Work Better Now's reliable, full-time, and dedicated remote workforce is vetted and matched specifically to your operational needs. Larry and I have enjoyed having our Work Better Now assistant, Carmen, on our team for almost 2 years, and she has made an enormous positive impact on our business. Head over to workbetternow.com to schedule a free consultation and transform your business. When you mention the word heart during your conversation, you will receive $150 off for the first 3 months of your service. Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Another great day. There's so much great stuff happening right now at Selling from the Heart, Darrell.
It is a fun time. Here we are. We're right in the middle of summer. And if you're listening, we're glad you're here. Our goal, our aim, our focus is to keep you focused and fired up throughout the summer. And we've got a great roster of guests coming up. We've got Tim Rohrer in the house today. Just wait. You're going to be so excited about this message. Larry, what a fun summer. And one of the most exciting things about the summer, I know you're looking forward to it. It's August 15th.
Who would have thought all of this movement around Selling from the Heart started a little bit over 6 years ago with the podcast. The podcast morphed into the book, and now we are 5 years later. And what a treat to get picked up by a New York publisher. They're going to be helping us re-release Selling from the Heart August 15th. It's going to be dropping on barnesandnoble.com. What an absolute treat. So thank you, everyone, for making this happen.
Glad you're here. And if you'll join us in helping promote the book, pre-order your copy at barnesandnoble.com, then head over to sellingfromtheheart.net/pre-order. Sellingfromtheheart.net/pre-order. And we've got over $300 in special gifts for you, including the training session that Larry did on how to start your day, how to plan your morning, how to win and crush the morning. And this is such an exciting time right now. And Larry, I know at the beginning of the podcast, we always love to give a shout out to a member of our community. And we've got so many cool people all over the world, sales professionals who are saying, I want to sell from the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. A special just shout out to Terry Schaefer. And I love what Terry Schaefer's doing inside his association and how he's elevating the profession and how he leads from the heart, but how he works with everyone associated with Terry's association. Terry, you're a class act. We appreciate you.
Agree 100%. Well, we've got an amazing conversation lined up today with Tim Rohrer. He's the author of the new book, Sales Lessons of the World's Greatest Mentor. He's an award-winning sales director with over 25 years of experience in sales and sales management in various industries, from automotive to media. He coaches and mentors salespeople and sales leaders, and he consults and provides training to sales organizations. Tim believes in the power of story, the importance of growth and development, and he believes in using trust and building trust to grow relationships, to grow sales. That's my kind of person. Tim, welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast. It's great to have you here.
Hi, guys. It is great to be here. Wow, that was quite the introduction. I've never been introduced that well before.
No, it's all good. Hey, Tim, it's all good. We can go out on the road with you. How's that?
I'm going to take Darrell on the road with me. Just to
That's right.
Somebody has to.
All we need is the smoke machine now, and everything will be great. Hey, Tim, it's great to have you here on the podcast. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And as we get started, you know the question that every guest on Selling from the Heart podcast answers, and that is, What does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Oh, that's easy. What that means to me is selling with integrity, selling honestly, being transparent, and just making sure that every transaction is a win on both sides. There's no reason why people who are selling stuff have to be the only winners. People who are buying stuff should be the winners, and those of us who sell should be taking into account the goals and objectives of the person buying well before we take into our own. And I think that's what selling from the heart means.
Oh, this is so good. And I want to key on the first word you said, integrity. And I just have to give a special shout out to somebody that I look up to, and that's Andy Stanley. And I remember watching a message he delivered around integrity. I'm going to paraphrase this, Tim, but it plays so well with what you just said. He goes, integrity is about doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it does. And, integrity, especially in sales, I believe integrity is going to raise you to the top of the list. It's going to help keep you at the top. And I think you would agree.
Yeah, I absolutely do agree. There's no reason why we can't be honest and transparent with everybody with whom we do business. I mean, if you're trying to pull one over on somebody, it just doesn't last long enough to be successful. The most successful people are the ones who help others. And that's really what selling from the heart for me is all about.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, big time. Congratulations on the release of the book, Sales Lessons of the World's Greatest Mentor.
Thank you.
Unpack that for us. Who's the world's greatest mentor? And let's dive into some of these sales lessons.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the world's greatest mentor, this world's greatest sales mentor is Dick Harlow. And the reason why he is because he's my world's greatest mentor. I don't know if you guys have ever had a shirt, maybe on Father's Day, one of your kids gave you a shirt that says world's greatest dad. And then
of course.
And then you go to the mall and you see another dad wearing that same shirt.
I thought I was the world's greatest dad.
You're like, what the? Well, that's what the world's greatest mentor is, right? The world's greatest mentor is a personal title. And it's the one I gave to Dick Harlow because he's my world's greatest mentor. And you guys may have had mentors coming up as well. And those are the world's greatest mentors to you. And I think everybody should have one. I'm on a mission to promote mentorship. And I'm hoping that everybody has got a personal coach who can help guide them and grow them, especially early in their career. And that's what Dick did for me. And so as a thank you, I wrote a book. And there's 15 or 16 lessons in the book that Dick taught me during the first 3 years that we were together when I was a rookie in broadcast sales for a radio station in Charlotte.
Now, this is what I love, because as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm doing flashbacks, and I go, man, if I could take myself back to my early 20s, and if I would do anything different in my 20s, first thing I would do differently is find a mentor.
Yep.
Right.
And I didn't find out about this until later in life. So as we start thinking about mentorship and all that, I mean, if you'll unpack this for us, is what makes Dick that world's greatest sales mentor? What did he do that left a lasting impression that you go, you know what, I'm going to write a book about it? What did some of the things you learned along the way?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that Dick did was he encouraged me throughout my failures, right? There's a learning curve associated with selling anything. And there was certainly a learning curve for me in learning how to sell radio advertising. And Dick was just highly encouraging and telling me that I could do it, and he would listen and he would guide, right? And sometimes he would physically go out on sales calls with me and help me. But more than anything else, what it was he would listen to the troubles I was having. He would tell me that other people have had similar troubles. Here's how some people have solved some of those things. He would encourage me to try different things. And, when I failed, he would say that was okay. And let's just give it another try. And I think that was what really stuck with me for all these years. His ability to get me to see that a failure was a temporary setback, and that I did have the ability and I did have the skills, and I just needed to keep on going. I think that's what made him the world's greatest mentor.
I love it. I love it. My friend Pablo Giacopelli always says failure is the most fertile soil on the planet. But you don't see that without someone else looking at the situation. Just without a mentor, you just get stuck in your head. And I think a mentor, I like the concept of a mentor to be able to have some wisdom, some decades under their belt to be able to go, number one, it's going to be okay. You're going to survive this. What can you learn from it? Like that level of wisdom. I second what Larry's saying. I wish I'd had that when I was early on in my career, and I didn't. And I think it would have gone further faster had I had a mentor. So you've got 16 lessons in the book. I'm curious, like I'm going to ask you to narrow it down. Like what were 2 or 3 of your most impactful lessons that you learned? Let's dive into some of these. What were the ones that really, really got you moving forward and got you unstuck?
I think that there were 2, and one of them is called, write your own kayak. So I was having a difficult time. I was failing more than I was succeeding. And I kept reaching out to Dick to try to find some time to get together with him so that he could help me, because that's what I was used to, right? And for whatever reason, Dick was not as available as he normally would have been. And I was getting frustrated with my situation, and I was getting frustrated with Dick, and I was thinking that he was letting me down. And so I confronted him, and I said, Dick, I really need you right now. You know, things are going very, very badly for me, and, you know, I need your help. And he said to me, I've got to help a lot of other people. He said, you know, we have a promotions department. We have a sales department. We have a programming department. He says, I'm the general manager of the whole radio station. I'm not just the general manager of the sales team. He says, so, you know, imagine there's 20 people who need me just like you need me, and I can't be there for you as much as you would like. And then he told me this story. He says, did you watch the Olympics last year? This would have been the 1992 Olympics. And I said, yeah, sure. I watched the Olympics. And I was so surly, right? I mean, he probably should have just backhanded me across the face, but Dick would never have done that. So I was like, yeah. I watched the Olympics. What about it? And he said, did you see the kayak event? And I said, yeah, I suppose. I mean, those guys, they're incredible. Loose with these giant boulders in there. And then they put hundreds of thousands of gallons of water and they shoot it down this thing. And then they've got these little flags that suspend over the water. He says, and the kayakers get in there and they go upstream and downstream, and they got to go around these flags. And what typically will happen at some point is somebody will go upside down, and they're getting thrown down this river of rocks upside down in this kayak, and nobody can help them because people are on the sideline. You can't dive into the water. You would die, right? He says, so it's up to the individual kayaker to turn their own kayak over. They have to right their own kayak. And they have to learn techniques for saving their own life while in competition. He says, and you'll watch these guys and they'll get flipped over and they'll be upside down. You think they're going to die, and they turn the thing back up, and then they keep going and they keep competing, and they get back on course. He said, that's what you need to do. He says, I can't be there for you. I'm on the sidelines for you. And you're in a kayak and you're in this competition, and you're going to get thrown around by rocks and water, and it's going to be hard. And you're going to feel sometimes like you're going to drown. He says, but you can't rely on somebody else to turn your kayak over. You have to right your kayak yourself. Then he hopped in the car with somebody else and went on some sales calls.
That's classic. Darrell, you know where I'm going to go with this. But Tim, as I'm sitting here listening to this, just the tip of the cap to a past podcast guest who was actually an Olympic gold medalist, for kayaking. That was Joe Jacoby.
No way.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here, the United States gold medalist. And the whole time I'm listening to your story, I have Joe Jacoby just playing in the background and in the background. Great story, though, because you're right. When that kayak flips over, there's nobody there to help. That is a great, great story.
Yeah. So it was a tough lesson for me. I mean, it was a brutally hard lesson for me. I probably sulked for like 2 or 3 days.
But it's, having a mentor, sometimes you need a cold glass of water in the face and someone to say, look, you can do this. You have what it takes, and go do it. You can do this. And once again, that older, wisdom of experience, someone being able to say, you can get your kayak righted. You can keep going on this, and you have what it takes. Sometimes having that external voice is so incredibly helpful. And man, I know in sales from my experience, that analogy of the rocks and the water and everything's just coming at you and it doesn't stop. Such a practical thing. What I'm curious along the way is, as you've thought about writing your canoe, writing your kayak, turning it back up in the context of sales, what did that ultimately end up looking like to you? What's some advice on how you get back above water when you feel like you're drowning as a rep?
Well, I'll tell you what I did is I went to the library and I got Brian Tracy's book, The Psychology of Selling. Mm-hmm. Because I had been to the Brian Tracy seminar in Charlotte that year, and I spent most of my time thinking about how much money Brian Tracy was making, and not the psychology of selling. Right? I didn't buy his books while I was there, and so after Dick told me that, I was like, what am I going to do? It's really, I eventually realized that it wasn't fair to expect my mentor, my personal coach, to always be available. And I knew eventually one day that I wasn't going to work with Dick anymore. And I was going to need to learn how to do these skills for myself. How do you coach yourself? Mm-hmm. And so I went and bought Brian Tracy's books. And then I decided, Brian Tracy had some really good stuff in there, but there's a lot of good books written about sales and sales psychology. And I just dedicated myself to reading one a month. And from then on, I just read everything I could get my hands on and just learned everything I could about sales. And my experience making sales calls plus my education resulted in a rapid evolution in my ability to succeed.
God, that's wonderful.
This is what I like about what you just said is, because I know you're a big fan of stories, and I just believe this, especially in sales, the stories we tell ourselves in our heads, the stories that constantly play out, our internal stories, sooner or later, we actually start living those out. And that's why I'm just a massive believer that if we can get our mind right in sales, watch what starts to happen. But it's right. I mean, there's so much rejection and there's so much of that happens that it plays on our mind. So we just keep telling ourselves the story over and over and over again. But if we can get our minds right, watch what starts to happen. It just takes us in a whole different trajectory.
So true, Larry.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah. I love this. And Tim, this is such a fantastic conversation. And I'm looking forward to hearing your second favorite lesson from the mentors. We're going to take a brief break here to hear from our sponsors and also to one of our former podcast guests about what it means to them to sell from the heart. Last week, we heard from Brent Adamson. Well, today, it just seems only fitting that we hear from our friend Matt Dixon as well. So let's hear what Matt Dixon had to say about what it means to him to sell from the heart after a brief word from our sponsors. Darrell here, and I'm excited to announce that Larry's book, Selling from the Heart, has been picked up by a New York publishing house and is now available for pre-order on the barnesandnoble.com website. The movement of authenticity is gaining momentum, and it would be beneficial to have the book available not just online, but also on the shelves of Barnes & Noble stores. To make this a possibility, we would like to get pre-orders for as many copies of Selling from the Heart as possible in order to demonstrate the book's popularity. So those who pre-order the book on barnesandnoble.com are going to receive over $250 in special bonus items as a token of our gratitude for supporting this huge goal. To show your support, pre-order Selling from the Heart on barnesandnoble.com And then go to sellingfromtheheart.net/book to get access to your special bonus items. We are so grateful for your support as we continue to build this movement of authenticity in the sales profession we all love.
I think it's kind of what the book is all about, is selling from the heart, or maybe even more specifically, selling to the heart. What I mean by that is that, we were surprised to learn that, sales, I think, is partly about persuasion. It's partly about motivation of our customers. We got to persuade them to that our vision of a new way forward, to part ways with the status quo, move forward with us. We got to persuade them of that. But then we've also got to motivate them to act and actually buy our solution and sign on the dotted line, execute the DocuSign. And one of the things we learned is that, persuasion is largely rational, but motivation is largely emotional. And we'll unpack this in more detail. And so I think that's what it means for me, at least, to sell from the heart, is actually understanding that there's two sides to this whole thing for the customer. And it means, it's an overused term, but the customer-centric approach to selling is recognizing that and then flexing your style and adapting your style so that you're speaking both to the customer's mind and to their heart.
I love it.
Good. So
what
good.
A great answer, Matt. And by the way, if you'd like to send in a video to be featured on an upcoming Selling from the Heart episode, we'd love to have your video. So all you need to do is text the word video to 21,000. Just text the word video to 21,000. You'll get instructions on how to do that. And you could be on an upcoming episode of Selling from the Heart. Well, we're here today with Tim Rohrer, author of Sales Lessons of the World's Greatest Mentor. We heard sales lesson number 1. Tim, what was another favorite sales lesson that you gleaned along the way from your mentor?
Yeah, the very first lesson that I learned from Dick Harlow was that presentation is everything. And I learned this in Dick's unique way. So we had a sales meeting every Wednesday. And one Wednesday morning, I see Dick ducking into the sales room, the conference room, a little bit early, and he was carrying a bag. And I couldn't quite see where the bag was from, what store. And we all got into the room. And Dick handed a Bic pen to one side of the table. And he said, I want you to sign your name with this pen and then pass it to the next person. So we all did that. And he said, now, and he reached into his pocket. He was left-handed. And he said, now I want you to sign your name with this Mont Blanc pen. And he handed it out, right? And so everybody signed their name right below. And he gets the pen back and he says, I want you to look at the two signatures and I want you to tell me, what's the difference between the two? And nobody said anything. And he goes, Timmy, what's the difference? Dick always called me Timmy. He was only the second adult male who ever called me Timmy, the first being my father. I got my father to stop calling me Timmy long before I got Dick. So he says, Timmy, what's the difference between these two signatures? And I looked at him and I just did not want to be wrong, right? I said, I don't know. I mean, they look pretty much exactly the same to me. And he says, yes, they're exactly the same. He says, so why is it that this big pen you can get in a pack of 10 for $5 down at the Walgreens, but this Mont Blanc pen comes with its own satin-lined little coffin type box? He says, look at these directions. And he holds them up. He says, they come in 7 languages. You can read about how to use this pen in Chinese. And we're like, I don't know. He says, why does this pen cost 100 times more than this other pen? He says, the reason is presentation. He says, presentation is everything. He says, look at this beautiful lacquered finish and these gold tips and this beautiful box with the silk lining and the instructions in 7 languages. He says, it's presentation that makes this pen worth $100. This other pen comes in a cellophane wrapped bag that hangs on a hook at the drugstore. He says, and within a couple of days of owning this pen, you've chewed the cap and it looks all gross. And he said, but this other pen sits inside your suit coat pocket and lives comfortably inside pressed against your breast near your heart. He's like, the reason why it's worth more is because of the presentation. And then he reached down to the back, right? And he pulls it up. He says, that's why I got each one of you on Mont Blanc pen.
There you go.
And he starts passing them all out. And we're like, whoa. And he's like, from now on, when you sign your agreements, you sign with your Mont Blanc pen. And it was awesome, of course. And what I loved about this lesson was that his presentation is everything conclusion was the result of him making a presentation of the pens, right? So it was like very meta of Dick. It's like, he could have just told us, presentation is everything. You got to make a great presentation if you want to engage people emotionally and get them to buy into what you're saying. That's what you got to do. But he didn't do that. He created a presentation that was worthy of the lesson itself. And that's what made it so cool.
And you know what's interesting? Do you still have your Mont Blanc pen?
I do not have it. I do not know what happened to it.
Oh, Tim. I could pull it out, but I'm not going to. I still have my first Mont Blanc pen. I haven't used it in decades. But to play along with this,
I use mine every day. Oh, that's
serious?
Great.
Yeah, no, I seriously, I still have it. It just needs ink, and I'm sure it would work. But here's but
it just got handed to me, by the way.
Hey Tim, I had to buy mine. But it goes along the line with this though. It's how you make somebody feel during that process.
Right.
And that ties so well into Dick's lesson that he gave you, at the Mont Blanc pen. It's once about the presentation, but it's another, how are you making that person feel when they're actually signing their name? Now, do we even sign names with Mont Blanc pens? It's usually electronic signatures and all that.
Nowhere near as fun.
No.
But that, one of the things we're passionate about at Selling from the Heart, and we believe this is a core factor of building trust. And it's one of the 4 modules in our trust formula is inspirational experience. And the way, another word for that is presentation. The way we come across, the way we craft experiences for our clients, I think all things considered, the way that we create that experience, the way we present, may be in some cases the only differentiation we have from the other line of competitors who are right behind us with very similar products and similar services.
Well, agreed, right? So many products are commodities now. And that was always true in the radio advertising business. I mean, there's not really that much difference between a commercial on one station versus a commercial on another station. And so the difference had to become the seller. And, that was Dick's lesson to us, is like the way you present the radio station is going to make the difference between how people feel about being on the radio station. And that's going to add the value to the radio station. And so it really is about people buying you, right? And in order to get them to buy you, you have to make a presentation that connects with them emotionally, right? And I mean, Dick was teaching Selling from the Heart long before you guys made it famous. But that's right. That's why it's so great to be with you today.
I love it.
So
no, it's so good. So it's a personal question, but do you still stay in contact with Dick? Is he still around?
So Dick is around. He's the chief operating officer of Dick Broadcasting, which is not named after him. It's just coincidental.
Cool.
In North Carolina, they own radio stations in New Bern and Myrtle Beach and a couple of other places. So he's still in the business. And I went to visit him a couple of weeks ago. We hadn't seen each other in 30 years. And I said, I've written this book about you. Can I at least get a face-to-face? And
That's great.
He says, come to North Carolina. We'll play golf. And I did, and we did. And now we're talking about ways that we might be able to work together. And we came up with this idea that we're going to execute on soon called the Mentor Minute.
Ooh.
And it's where I call Dick up just like this, like on a Teams call.
Yeah.
And I pose a problem. I'm having a problem with this thing, Dick. Can you help me out? And he coaches me through the solution.
Fun.
And then we're going to post those up on YouTube and then link to my website. And so it's going to be great.
It's so fun.
I got to go there. I just have to go there. So when you asked him to do this, was his response, "Hey, Tim," right? So I'm going to call you Timmy just for this one because Dick called you that. So did he say, "Timmy, you got to ride the kayak on this one"?
Right, the ship. So fun.
No. Sorry, I had to go down that one, Tim.
What he actually said was, Tim, because he's not calling me Timmy anymore because I'm now 60 years old. So he says, I would love to work with you in some way. He says, I'm really proud of the leader you've become, which was terrific.
That's so good. Well, Tim, how can people get more Tim Rohrer in their life?
So it's really easy. I've got a website. They can go here.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes, timjrohrer.com.
And I've got a downloadable piece there called 3 Reasons Why Your Remote Sales Force is Underperforming and How to Fix It.
Awesome.
So that's fun if they want to download that. And then also, of course, they can get the book.
Sales Lessons of the World's Greatest Mentor, where all fine books are sold.
Well, actually, only where Amazon books are sold right now.
Hey, that's good. Well, I'm so excited to meet you, and I'm glad you've been able to release this message to the world and this whole theme about mentorship. So perfect. So thanks for sharing time with us today, Tim. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Tim.
Guys, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, so many fun stories. They're having flashbacks today too.
I was totally having flashbacks, but I just gotta, if it's okay, I gotta play off a ride the kayak story. By the way, Tim, that is a great story. I'm going to repurpose that one for a while. But I remember this goes back a long time ago. It wasn't a mentor, but it was, an old sales manager that I had growing up. When I was always right, if I had a problem, if I had an issue, right, Tim going back to Dick. Well, finally, this person finally just said, Larry, what would you do if I wasn't here? And that, that's the ride your own kayak moment, right?
That's right.
You got to fend for yourself now, right? I'm here, but what if I'm not here?
Well, and it's a balance, right? We do need mentors. We do need people to speak into our lives. And if you're on the early stage of your career, I challenge you, go find a mentor. Find one. You may have to ask a few people. If you're on the later side of your career, maybe it's time to be that mentor to somebody else. And the generosity of giving back, I think, is going to be returned in terms of energy that comes back to you as you watch someone succeed that's coming up through the ranks. So what a great conversation.
Oh, totally.
Larry, I'm excited about everybody going to barnesandnoble.com to get Selling from the Heart. The movement's growing. The distribution channels are growing. Thanks to barnesandnoble.com for hosting that book. And we want to just make that launch spectacular. So if you go to barnesandnoble.com right now, grab your pre-order of Selling from the Heart. It comes to you on August 15th, but immediately you're going to get access to over $300 worth of incredible tools and information when you go to sellingfromtheheart.net/pre-order. It's in the show notes. Just click on that and you'll see how you can get instant access to all of that. Summer's here. It's hot. We got a lot going on. Things are heating up at Selling from the Heart, Larry.
No, they so are. I just have to give a special shout out to everyone who's watching and who's been with us for all these years. This movement and Selling from the Heart doesn't happen without a community. This community has been awesome. Y'all are rising up to the occasion. You're saying, yes, we will help. So I just want to say I'm super grateful to each and every one of you for helping me bring this message and this much needed movement around heart and sincerity and business substance here at Selling from the Heart. We just call it giving a rip, and we appreciate you.
That's right. We do. Well, till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, find a mentor or be a mentor, and most of all,
sell from the heart.